For billions of years, Earth survived because of one number, 149.6 million kilometers. That is the average distance between Earth and the Sun. Close enough for a liquid water, far enough to avoid destruction. Astronomers call this the habitable zone. But what if that distance changed? What if the Sun slowly moved closer? Not overnight, not in a single explosion, but kilometer by kilometer, day after day, year after year. At first, humanity wouldn't even notice. Then oceans would begin to evaporate, forests would ignite, cities would collapse, and eventually, the only means of survival to human civilization would be to disappear beneath the surface of the Earth. At first, scientists believed the change would take centuries. They were wrong. The distance between Earth and the Sun had already begun to shrink. Phase 1, the first warning. Distance, 149.6 million kilometers to 148 million kilometers increase in solar intensity, approximately 2%. The first signs were almost invisible. The Sun had shifted closer by only 1.6 million kilometers. To the human mind, that sounded enormous. To astronomy, it was terrifyingly small. The intensity of sunlight follows the inverse square law. If distance decreases, solar energy increases exponentially. Even a tiny reduction in distance creates massive heating effects. In this case, the normal distance of 149 kilometers and the new distance of 148 kilometers, there's a variance of 1.021 solar increase. That means Earth now receives 102.1% of normal solar radiation, a 2.1% increase. That sounds harmless. You are wrong. Global average temperatures rose by 1.8 degrees Celsius within 18 months. That alone destabilized Earth's climate. Arctic ice melted faster. Ocean temperatures climbed. Hurricanes intensified. Crop yields dropped by 11%. Deep beneath Geneva, scientists inside thermal monitoring bunkers began recording strange readings. Instruments detected increased solar neutrino density, elevated atmospheric ionization, surface infrared saturation. Sensors buried 3 kilometers underground measured geothermal feedback loops increasing by 17%. Even underground, the planet was beginning to store heat faster than it could release it. Phase 2, the warming world distance, 145 million kilometers. Solar intensity increase, approximately 6%. 3 years later, the Sun looked no different in the sky, but Earth was no longer cooling at night. Entire regions stayed hot for weeks. Earth now received 106.4% normal solar energy, just 6.4% more sunlight. Yet ecosystems began collapsing globally. Average global temperatures rose by 4 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels. Wet bulb temperatures in equatorial regions by 35 degrees Celsius. Wet bulb temperatures. At this level, human sweat no longer cools the body. Healthy people die within hours without artificial cooling. Cities begin failing. India experiences power grid collapse. Middle Eastern cities become uninhabitable during daytime. Wildfires consume millions of hectares. Rivers begin shrinking. The Amazon rainforest starts transforming into dry savanna. Methane trapped beneath Siberian permafrost erupts into the atmosphere, accelerating warming even further. Phase 3, the Great Evaporation. Distance, 140 million kilometers. Solar intensity increases by 14%. Then came the decade historians would later call the drying. The oceans themselves began changing. Earth was now receiving 114.2% solar radiation. Ocean evaporation rates skyrocketed. Atmospheric humidity reached record extremes. The greenhouse effect intensified violently. Global average was now 9 degrees Celsius. Continental interiors, 50 degrees Celsius. Daytime temperatures. Asphalt surface temperatures, 80 degrees Celsius. Aircraft could no longer safely take off from many airports because hot air became too thin for lift. Atmospheric water vapor increased dramatically. Water vapor itself is a greenhouse gas. Atmospheric pressure climbed slightly due to moisture loading. Scientists recorded a 3% atmospheric density increase. Storm systems became hyper-violent. Hurricanes reached 400 kilometers per hour sustained winds. Lightning storms circled continents. Governments secretly began constructing deep thermal shelters with depths of 1 to 3 kilometers, and later some exceeded 5 kilometers underground. Purpose: temperature shielding, radiation protection, water preservation. Underground measurements were installed. Sensors recorded surface ground temperatures exceeding 72 degrees Celsius. At 5 kilometers underground, stable temperatures remained around 28 degrees Celsius, survivable with cooling systems. But energy demands became enormous. Entire nuclear reactors were dedicated only to underground cooling. Phase 4. The ocean death distance, 135 million kilometers. Solar intensity increase was now at 23%. The oceans no longer looked blue from orbit. Massive algae blooms spread across continents of warm water. Then, the oxygen collapse began. Now warm water holds less dissolved oxygen. Marine ecosystems suffocated. Over 80% of ocean species disappeared. Coral reefs vanished completely. Earth now absorbed 122.8% solar energy. This triggered runaway evaporation cycles. Clouds permanently covered much of Earth. But instead of cooling the planet, they trapped heat. Global agriculture collapsed by 61%. Most outdoor farming became impossible. Only underground hydroponics, genetically modified heat-resistant crops, and artificial light farms could sustain human life. Then, mass migration begun. Billions moved toward polar regions, underground cities, and deep mountain shelters. Wars began over fresh water, cooling systems, and underground spaces. Phase 5. The surface burns. Distance: 130 million kilometers. Solar intensity increases to 32%. At first, people stopped going outside during the afternoon, then during the day entirely. Eventually, the surface became lethal. Earth now received 132.4% normal solar radiation. That additional 32% destroyed climate stability permanently. Equatorial temperatures now 65 degrees Celsius. Air temperature, metal surface temperatures at 90 to 110 degrees Celsius. Shallow seas began boiling in some enclosed regions. Rain became rare in continental interiors. Most forests were gone. Soil moisture vanished, and dust storms crossed entire oceans. By this point, 75% of humanity had died. The survivors descended underground. Underground cities used geothermal cooling, nuclear reactors, recycled air systems, desalination plants, artificial LED agriculture, and massive thermal shields protected habitation zones. Deep Earth observatories measured surface infrared flux, plus 41%, UV radiation increase, plus 28%, ocean loss at 17%. Total ocean volume evaporated, and atmospheric humidity reached levels never before seen in Earth's history. Final phase, the new Earth distance, 125 million kilometers. Solar intensity increase at 43%. From orbit, Earth no longer resembled the world humanity once knew. The continents were brown, the oceans smaller. Clouds wrapped the planet like steam. The surface belonged only to storms, heat, and silence. Earth now received 143.2% normal solar radiation, enough to permanently transform planetary climate systems. Humanity survived, but not on the surface. The civilization that once ruled oceans and skies now hid beneath stone. All because the distance between Earth and the Sun changed by only a few million kilometers. In astronomy, small distances mean everything. And the universe does not need explosions to destroy a world. Sometimes, all it takes is getting slightly closer to the Sun.
Remember to subscribe for more survival stories.